Hello, everyone. This is Scott Caruso from MGD1402 here with my week 4 reflection video. All in all, I felt like this was a pretty good week. Things around user interfaces and functionality in that regard make a lot more sense to me than things that require real significant graphical input. And not to say that user interfaces aren't graphical, but just that the user interfaces that are much more code based really seem to make a lot more sense to me. So I thought this week went well because I spent a lot of time working on a high scores list that would appear within the application and kind of arranging the user interface screens. Um, and I really enjoyed doing the coding aspect of that. Um, the visuals, like I said, are not my strong suit, but actual functionality, I feel like I'm relatively strong in. So I was really happy with the way this week turned out in that regard. I think that's probably what I found most valuable was closing the project out on what I felt was a relative high note. There's still a lot of things about the project that I wasn't happy with, and the aesthetics were always a challenge for me the entire project. And I'm not in love with the way it looks, even though I was really just there to prove out functionality. Um, it's really just the valuable thing that I got out of this week was closing, like I said, closing on a high note and focusing on the little things that turned my game into an actual game that you could at least persistently play with high scores and whatnot. Um, and so I guess at this point, there's not a whole lot that I think could use more clarification. Um, I think what we would need to learn, or something that we would need to do, is kind of focus on how to go out and build relationships with people that are stronger in the areas that you're weak in. So for me, I would want to go find someone who is really strong in being able to develop 2D sprites or background images or a graphical designer in some way. Be able to go find someone like that to convince them to work with me. Like learning tools on how to network in that regard, I think are things that are important. So it's actually outside of the coding aspect of what we're doing and more focused on the relationship building. Me personally, just from my own background, I feel comfortable in doing that sort of thing. But I'm sure there's a lot of people that have never had to network, never had to work across teams or across disciplines before that would get a lot out of that. So I think that's probably the area that I think could use more clarification or something that I think we could learn more about going forward. But yeah, that being said, I'm relatively happy with how this month went. It wasn't my best month, wasn't my worst either. I feel like if I could have been happier with the aesthetics, I would have been happier with the application as a whole. But functionally, the application does what I want it to do, and I think that's the most important part. The game does what I expected it to do. It tracks high scores in a persistent manner, and it's I mean, I guess it's fun for what it is. It's clearly not the most fun game I've ever played before, but it's also the first game I've ever tried to build. I've always been more focused on more uh, serious productivity, not even productivity, but just information based apps rather than games. And I think it was an interesting experience for me to actually focus on making a game. Long term, games aren't what I want to make. I want to make different kinds of applications, but learning how to make games, I think, is still really important in learning how to build good experiences for the end user. So that was week 4, and that's the end of MGD. I hope everyone else had a good experience as well, and I will see y'all again next month.